Life After Sunday, a podcast by dudes, for dudes, where faith meets the real world. For Eric Duval and Mike Norman, I'm Chris Boren. Let's go.
What is up, my brothers?
What's up, guys?
Good morning. Good morning from Temple, Texas.
This is a disclaimer
Texas.
before we even get going that Eric is in rare form this morning.
Yeah. I'm glad we weren't recording, actually, now that I think about it, because
He's a little saucy.
I'm in a way. I'm in a way this morning. It's all good, though, right?
Hey.
It's all good.
When you start a new business, you can be whatever way you want to be, huh?
Whew. Yeah, good times, man. Good times.
Background plain white, a little bit boring, but, we can handle that.
Hey, it's getting there. That'll change here in the next 3 or 4 days. When you see my new background, you're going to be really impressed. Chris, you know what I'm talking about? The new balm photo. Yeah, you're going to love it, Mike.
Sweet. But
when it gets all set up.
You brought up balm, and then it causes me to have anxiety, and we're going to talk about anxiety today, but it causes my heart to break. And you bring up Arkansas baseball, and I just felt my mood just kind of go down a notch just now. And we've talked about not letting sports ruin your day, but sports have kind of almost ruined my week.
Yes, Mike, you're absolutely right. I know Chris feels the exact same way, man. It's just sad, man. And here's the thing, okay? We'll listen to another pod or something some other day about what happened and what went wrong with our Omaha Hogs. I'm still going to call them that forever. But man, at the end of the day, a lot of it is just baseball. Things happen in baseball that you'll never be able to figure out. That's why we love this game, and that's why we absolutely can't stand this game at some times. And so, we just get to sit and suffer. But a little consolation before we move on. In my opinion, Arkansas is a program that, this sucked this year. It didn't go the way we wanted it, but we're going to be right back in the mix again next year. And the blessing of getting to be in the mix in the game of baseball is pretty special. So I look forward to next year. Our Dave's already at work building some pieces. Let's go.
Yeah,
I like it. You're right. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, we're talking about all these emotions we feel from everything in the world, everything around us, from anxiety to fear to joy, happiness, failure, depression, anger, resentment, all these emotions. And we're going to focus this podcast on that today, all those emotions, how we deal with them as a man. And I did a thing. I'm trying to do a thing. It's not all the way done yet, but ditching my Apple Watch right out of retirement, the classic G-Shock. Had to put a battery in it, cleaned it up real good. And man, my Apple Watch was just so distracting, and it was affecting me. And I still wear my Apple Watch to the gym just because of the fitness stuff on there, but I take it off afterwards and find myself trying to scroll on my G-Shock, and it don't work.
Isn't that a bizarre? It's so bizarre. I found myself, I've actually, talk about the phones and what they do to us. I've actually found myself looking at a picture, and without even thinking about it, I go like this and try to make the picture bigger. Not even thinking. I'll be looking at a picture, somebody will show me something, and I've actually done that, where I've tried to make it bigger without even thinking. That's how addicted. And I think you getting rid of your watch is huge. I think a lot of people are kind of moving that way. I've had 2 Apple Watches. Both have been destroyed at, $400 a piece, which kind of defaulted me into not having one. I found the Fitbit is great because you get the benefits of the health, and then you can turn off all notifications, and it does nothing but tell the time and do your health stuff. But you're right. And I found it even when I was working, I'd be sitting there talking to a chief or a lieutenant or somebody, and while you're talking, their watch goes off, this is them, and it's insulting because I've always tried to be a person, like if I'm in a meeting or something, to not respond to a text. Like we act like texts now are 911 calls coming in. Like if they set for more than 10 seconds, like we can't handle it. We have to check it immediately, and it's actually very rude. It's not good. It makes the person you're talking to feel like they don't matter, and it interrupts the flow conversation. Y'all feel the same way?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the person on the other end of the text. They feel the same way. If you don't answer in 10 seconds, they feel like you've abandoned them forever. But
I know they got their phone. What are they doing? I know they got their phone.
Especially if these insane people have red receipts on. Because if you don't answer someone when you're on red, if you don't answer in like 3.5 seconds, you're the worst person on the face of the earth, and you can't stand them. You hate them, and you're no longer friends. Yeah. Anyway, again, I'm in a mood this morning. Anyway, I ditched my Apple Watch.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, I'm the get off my lawn guy today, baby. I got my Ultra MAGA shirt on. I'm just cranky. Anyway, I got rid of my Apple Watch as well. But mine's a little different. I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying. And I did some of that stuff because if you're wearing it and it goes off, it's impossible not to go. Your brain and your hand can't stop it if you're going to do it. So, but I got rid of mine because I'm just old and stupid and don't know how to operate a $400 watch. For anything besides looking and saying, "Hey, Mike just texted something really inappropriate," or I'll be right in the middle of talking to some sweet little family about hospice service or something, and Mike's texting pictures of who knows what, memes of who knows what. So so I got rid of mine. I don't miss it. I've got a Fitbit watch now. It's very, very basic, which I love. It does all the fitness things I like. It does give me text. So, I mean, I guess I would like to turn that off because I have caught myself in the last week doing this right here. And so I'd like to get rid of that for sure.
Well, the funny thing is,
as far as when it comes to, go ahead, Mike.
Fitbit is not as big as the Apple Watch. So when I get it, and whenever I did have it on, I'd look at it. It's just blurry. I'd have to be like, okay, what is it? What does it say? By that point, I should have just looked at my phone. And so, definitely good to turn that off.
I'm definitely guilty of doing the same thing during conversations or something, and after you do it, you're like, oh, what am I doing? It's like no one feels like they have your full attention when you do that, and it's terrible. Yeah. There's actually I used to have one, but it's like everything's got a subscription, and it's like $30 a month, but it's a Whoop band, WHOOP, and it literally is just a band with a battery on it and a sensor. It has no screen, no face, anything.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of this.
And it connects to your phone, and it's just constantly monitoring all fitness stuff, your heart rate variability, how you sleep, all this stuff. And you can make like a community. Like if we all had one, we could all see each other's data. We could see. It's real big in kind of the CrossFit community. Like me and Tracy used to have one together when we did CrossFit. And but who wants to pay $30-$40 a month for this?
Yeah.
Nope.
Like the band is free. It doesn't cost you anything when you order it, but you have to pay. I think it was $30. It may be more than that now, but $30 a month for the service. And it's just one of those things like you never take it off. The charger. You charge the charger and it just like slides over the band while you wear it. So it never loses data. You wear it in the shower.
Wow.
While you sleep all the time. But it's supposed
to help
you. Is there no time on it though?
No face, no screen. Nothing.
I gotta have time.
It's just monitoring biometric stuff, just like
just biometric stuff, yeah.
Yeah, your health stuff.
Recovery and like it tells you how long you were in like REM sleep and this kind of sleep, and like when you wake up, it'll say you're 85% recovered, or whatever. But all this is data's on your phone on an app. There's no notifications, there's notifications on your phone, obviously, but the band doesn't do anything. I guess that's what I'm saying. But again, who wants to pay another monthly subscription?
Yes.
No one.
Well, that's another podcast, What Stuff Costs right now. That's another episode we need to get on schedule. Anyway.
It's absolutely insane.
Causes anxiety, depression, and anger.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, I really, speaking of that, so you can tell I'm in my car. I'm in Temple, Texas, which they were hit by a pretty significant tornado about 2 weeks ago. Do y'all remember, that video you sent, Eric, of the Tesla recording the tornado?
Yeah.
It's from Temple. I didn't realize that.
Wow.
And so it's a long damage path everywhere I drive. It is damage. They've got a huge, right next to us is a family farm, like the slides and stuff that I guess they use in the fall. And there's a huge disaster recovery team there. I mean, all kinds of equipment. You see them all over town. The main business area just got annihilated. But out here, it's interesting. A bunch of houses have had their roofs ripped off. We're staying in like a metal container, an Airbnb that looks like a shipping container. It's actually pretty cool. But there's cornfields surrounding us, and the corn has been beat to hell. I mean, the hail damage, impressive. And then there's a little travel trailer next to us, and the whole side and front of it have little pockmarks from hail all over it. And actually, I noticed the front of the travel trailer was down. I got to looking at it, and the wind had pushed it off of its block, and so it fell down onto the ground. So there's trees everywhere down. So, that's, while sad, I find it pretty interesting checking it all out. But we're here. I've been in Texas for, I think, 8 days, something like that. We had to come down here for a wedding, and then we dropped Gracie off at her camp, and we're picking her up today. So letting our little girl go is very difficult, but she has such a blast. It's the biggest blessing. Like every time we pick her up, you get your faith in humanity is restored. The God that is in this camp will blow your mind. The volunteers, like these kids, like compared to us as kids, like these kids, these girls, these guys volunteer, come down here and serve these special needs kids. Well, it just, I don't know, it restores my faith in humanity every time I do it. It was a good enough camp that we drove 8 hours down here to drop her off.
Amazing.
So it was a wonderful camp. It kind of leads into what we're talking about, dealing with emotions as a man. So while we're down here, Mr. Trevor Bones is my nickname for him, Bones, because he got real skinny. Trevor, a little tiny miniature wiener dog, passed away while we were down here. We knew that was a likely possibility. So when we got down here for the wedding, we saw him start to kind of tail off a little bit. And our biggest fear was losing Trevor prior to Gracie going to camp, because that would just destroy her. We didn't want that. We went to the vet and they gave him some fluid to try to get him through another day, and it worked. So we dropped her off on Tuesday, and then drove immediately here. And Monica, being the amazing woman that she is and always planning ahead, had already called a company called Lapse of Love to meet us here to help Trevor, or to I don't know, I guess what you call it, euthanize Trevor, because he was starting to suffer. He was starting to build up some fluid, and some little fluid was coming out of his nose. He was sleeping a lot. So we got Gracie dropped off. But I want to talk about this service called Lapse of Love was just amazing. This really nice female vet showed up, explained the whole process to us. And when we were ready, they pushed some basically anesthesia, so he feels no pain, like almost like you're going into surgery. He's at complete peace. And then when we were ready, and he was already barely breathing at that point. They pushed the stuff that sent him over the Rainbow Bridge. And the neat thing about it was probably the hardest I've cried in since my dad passed away. So I'd say I probably haven't cried like that in, unfortunately, about 20 years. And little Trevor taught me some lessons on that. Because in my entire career in military and law enforcement, I always compartmentalized everything. And so like my first call, the first traumatic incident I had as a young officer, we got a call to a CPR of a 5-year-old girl who was dying. Beautiful 5-year-old girl. We went upstairs, and the parents were just a complete mess. We picked her up off the bed. We brought her downstairs, laid her on the ground, did CPR on her, and she had an illness that was going to take her out, and it took her out. So we did CPR, and didn't do anything. We went to the ER, and my FTO was a really, really tough guy, really, really just an awesome dude. And that was the only time I saw one tear come out of his eye at the ER. And, tons of those incidents, from teenagers dying to suicides, all that stuff. You always, as a cop, it's so unhealthy, but you compartmentalize. So I put it in a box, you lock it, and you never, ever deal with it. Well, and I've listened to so many podcasts and read so many books. I think that was probably the source of anxiety. I can't remember who I was listening to, but they described it. It was a Delta Force guy. And he said, your body's going to deal with that pain whether you want to or not. And if you lock it away like that, it's like a pus bubble. It's just going to continue. It's going to get out whether you like it or not. And sometimes that can come out in the form of a panic attack. It comes up. It comes out whether you like it or not. It'll come out at the most probably inappropriate or, the wrong time you want it to come out. And I think through my career, that's what I was doing. And I think that's why I had some bouts of anxiety. And it's funny because as a young man, I used to make fun of people who had anxiety. I would go to calls where people had anxiety, and I was like, God, you're so weak. You're so weak. Like, this is a joke. You're making all this up. And it's funny how God teaches you stuff. Probably 10 years into my career, we'd had Gracie, and we'd had some scary stuff happen with her. And again, I compartmentalize that like so many of us do. And I'm sure people who watch this have done the same. And I was walking into a Walmart, and nothing was going on. It was like I was with my family, like nothing was going on. And all of a sudden I got hit with a panic attack. And I tell you, as a man, and I consider myself a tough guy, whether that's accurate or not, but as a big tough guy, I'm a cop, and I'm having this panic attack in Walmart, and I was in my head, I was like, what is happening? This is weak. I didn't want to tell anybody about it. I didn't tell anybody. The only person I told was Monica for a long time. And so I'm sitting there dealing with that. I'm mortified. I'm embarrassed. And at first, if you don't know, and I didn't know anything about it. This is before podcasts. This is before we read about stuff like this, and it rocked me pretty good. And so, bringing it back to Trevor here today, the way I would typically deal with it in the past, like I would never be around when it's time to put a dog down. I just didn't want to deal with it because again, it just causes me grief. I would actually tell Monica, like, if you have friends or family, like if you read on Facebook, somebody has cancer or something bad's happened, just don't tell me about it. I just don't want to deal with it. And so what I decided to do this one after I've read so much was to turn and face the pain. And so with Trevor, I actually stayed in the room. I looked in his little eyes and I watched his little doggy soul leave. And man, it rocked me like I hadn't been rocked in decades. And it was almost like, because like I said, I don't cry. I haven't cried at all, hardly in 20 years. man, that stuff, it was like a dam broke, and that crap started gushing out. And even as I'm going through this emotion, I was like, is this going to stop? It's like 20 years of just pent up crap just flowed and it flowed and it flowed and it kept flowing. And, but it felt right. And when I got done, I was like, good Lord, I should have done this 20 years ago. And I'm
That puss
glad.
bubble finally broke.
Boy, it broke, man. I'm telling you, in my head as I'm going through this, I'm like, it wouldn't stop. You know, it just kept going.
It needed
would
to
not,
happen.
man, it just, so anyway, that was kind of the point I wanted to make on this, was Trevor kind of taught me, to turn and face the pain. And it's kind of like with life, I think I've spent my whole life, and I think a lot of people are like this too. You run from pain because that's your normal human emotion, is to run from pain. When the proper response is to turn and face it and dive into it, swim in it, and deal with it, because that isn't that the essence of being a human, like having your heart broken, loving. And I've done the opposite. I run from it and try not to love, or not try not to love, but just avoidance. And so dealing with it, I felt a lot better. It was while difficult, that is the essence of being a human, isn't it? Having your heart
Yes.
broken and loving, you know? So what are y'all's thoughts on that?
Genesis 1:27 says that God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, both. And with that being said, that means God created emotions. God has the same emotions that we have. We see them throughout Scripture. And our society, just like you said, Mike, society has told men, you can't be emotional. What are you doing? That's not manly. You're a coward. You're soft if you show any sign of emotion. And we're designed to feel love and joy and happiness and anger and disappointment, just like you said, Mike. And sometimes our emotions, they aren't pleasant. Maybe what you experienced wasn't very pleasant. I don't think. Maybe it was now. Maybe you feel better now. But they're so real to whoever's feeling them, and emotion is a lot of times an indicator of what's going on within our heart. For sure. And you can either allow emotions to control you, or you can completely deny your emotions, just like you were talking about, and shove them away. And in recovery class, a lot of times, most people that are addicts and addicted are that way because they did what you did. They don't want to feel that pain. They don't want to feel that emotion. So what they do, they suppress it with alcohol and drugs and sex, whatever they can get their hands on. And it's just, I got some stats here about I researched a little bit, and it says 1 in 5 men, that's 20%, will experience anxiety attack, some kind of panic disorder at some point in their lifetime. 1 in 5 men. That's
Well, the crazy thing is, though, like, you know, the way we're conditioned, even when I was boo-hooing, I was embarrassed. Like, I didn't want Monica to see it. I didn't want the vet that was there to see it. And that's something that's in my own head, but I'm still pretty mortified of anybody seeing me have that kind of emotion. And then too, you have to overcome, you know, I've read so many war books, and I'm like, you know, I'm having anxiety, you know, throughout my career for different things. And I'm like, gosh, you know, these guys in World War II, you know, they did a lot more than me, and they're not dealing with all this crap. Well, the reality is they deal with it too. And just that maybe they probably weren't as open and didn't write about it. And I always have to tell myself that at the end of the day, I'm not weak, and that seeing dead babies and people and stuff like that, it's not normal, and it's okay to boohoo about it and not like it, you know. But you're constantly fighting as a man that like I'm being weak, you know, like I'm just weak sauce. Everybody, look at that person over there. They're so tough. They're dealing with this like it's no problem. And at the end of the day, we're human. Everybody's different, man.
The theme here so far, we've talked about avoiding things, and just stuffing it all away. Well, I've spent my whole life doing that. That's who I am. That is how I handle everything. And then I chose a career where I was going to just play into that even more in emergency medicine and the fire service. I've always been, all my life, my whole life, I'm a people pleaser. I have this super weird thing about me where I care, but everybody thinks about me so much, it drives me insane. And then I'm afraid to say what I want because I don't feel like what I feel is valid. I don't feel like what I'm feeling is valid. And there's been some situations throughout my life where I've been told that what I'm feeling is not valid and that my emotions aren't correct and all these things. So I just shut up. I don't say anything. I will avoid a conflict with all cost at every turn, no matter what the consequence to me. Well, what I didn't realize by doing all that, you're exactly right, Mike. It will, whether you want it to or not, it will manifest itself in all kinds of different ways, but it will come out. Mine came out into a spot where in the last 10 years, it got to the point where I just wouldn't talk to anybody. I would just retreat within myself and avoid everything and every situation. I would lie about things because it made it easier to not face the situation and no one would be mad at me. So I would just go hide in myself and do that. And then again, it all plays in together. Again, the fire service, EMS, just the way I naturally was wired, all that just added up. It started coming out physically. I was very unhealthy. I wasn't sleeping. It was bad. I wasn't eating. I was eating terrible, which I still do somewhat. But anyway, I was eating terrible. I wasn't sleeping. All my relationships were suffering. It's a horrible, horrible place to be when you do not feel like you have a voice about anything. And so my anxiety, stress, I would say some depression. I did some talk therapy at multiple times across my life. And I wouldn't talk to them either. Wouldn't tell them what I really thought. I would just hold all that in and just go along to get along. And it wasn't until late 2021 where I did do some talk therapy and I actually said what I meant, what I thought. That things started to change just a little bit. And then in 22, I tried my best to just give every bit of it to God, just give all of it, just all the broken crap, the messes that I've made through all kinds of situations in my life, just give it to him. And then luckily in 23, I found someone that I can talk to and I do have a voice with, and I can tell anything in the world to. And then I've got you fellas now that have brought some of that out of me. I still struggle with it a lot. I still find myself wanting to avoid making someone unhappy or upsetting someone. So I'll just eat what I think. And then I'll be like, wait a minute. No. I got to say what I think. So I know exactly what you're talking about avoiding things, because I literally wrote the book on how to do that. So if you ever need any advice on how to avoid something or how to put something off, stuff it away, hide it, trivialize it, I got you. So
both of your situations allowed emotions controlled most of your life negatively because you thought you had to suppress them. So that was still a controlling aspect.
Yes. And I want to say something real quick before we move on about this is comparison also plays a role in avoidance. That may not make any sense, but so I struggle also because I would avoid what I was feeling, and because I would look around me. Mike, you said it. Everybody around me had their crap together. Everyone around me in my life had their crap together. Some of them would even tell me how much they had their crap together.
Of course.
If I ever did try to share what I was feeling, I was kind of put down about it, or kind of flat out told that what I'm saying is incorrect and my feelings don't matter here, and you're stupid or you're whatever. And so looking around you in the fire service, you're surrounded by people who have their crap, or who seemed to, from me, that had their crap together. Very successful, very strong, courageous. And so that made me feel even worse. So comparing yourself to somebody else, that's only going to lead to more anxiety, more depression, all that stuff. And so that made it worse. So comparison to everybody else around me that's the dumbest thing, but I did it, and I still do sometimes.
Comparison is why I do not have social media to this day, because I couldn't stop comparing really my situation, kind of a different aspect from what you're talking about anxiety and stuff. But like you said, you look at all these people and it looks like the grass is greener on the other side, when in reality, that's a false reality. That's a lie straight from the pit of hell. No one has it all together. If they tell you they got it all together, they're lying to your face for sure. But
I've learned that.
Yeah, and me too. But I would spend a lot of my time comparing my situation to like what people put on Facebook and social media, and it almost cost me my marriage, fellas, to be honest. And that's neither here nor there. But and all this boils down to this: as men, we feel like we want to be in control, and that and being we feel like we're, like you said, we feel like we're going to be a failure if we admit certain things, or we say certain things, or if you let something out, like you let your feelings out to somebody, that sense of control is gone. It's zero, because you don't know how they're going to react. You don't know what the situation is going to be moving forward after you let that out. And it's just,
Chris, something else on that is, if you let it out, you're going to be told you're a failure. Not just, you're going to think you're a failure. You're actually going to be told, if you say what you feel, that you're not worth anything.
right.
And again, especially in fire and EMS, you're surrounded by people who tell you how great they are.
Oh yeah.
So absolutely, that just makes it worse. And so,
but we've learned that's a lie.
Yeah, that absolutely is a lie. That every person I worked with, almost that I can think of, is absolutely broken in so many ways. And you take the problems I already had about the way I was, and then you throw in some of the stuff that Mike talked about, the crap we saw with kids and with, those emotions you felt. I already felt like I couldn't share anything about myself. So I would take all that too and stuff it on down in there with the rest of my crap. And boy, it's a big recipe for a terrible, terrible disaster pie, personal disaster pie. And it doesn't just affect you. It affects every single person around you, every single relationship. Why in the world? I look back now, and I'm sorry, there are some regrets. I look back now, and I've made so many terrible choices. If I just would have talked about what I was feeling, or said what I thought, or, wasn't afraid that somebody was going to just completely disown me if what I told them was going to upset them, I'd have been so much better off.
The people that are in our lives for real, like forever, really love us, like us and our families, like now, like what you say isn't going to push them away. It may upset them. It may cause a confrontation. You may have to do something about it. but they're not going to leave. They're not going to turn your back on you if they love you, and they're going to. It may in the moment it may not it may hurt. It may be some more emotions come out, but people that really love us won't leave us when we say something that's on our heart or get something off our chest if we made a failure or anything, and it really is
something.
It's amazing. That's something I'm learning now. Trying to confide in my wife things I struggle with and this and that. And it happened just the other day, and I almost messed up, and I was like, the whole week I was condemned about it, and I was like a failure, and the devil's in my head. And finally we were eating dinner, and I just let it all out, and I started bawling and telling her, and she's like, "It's okay. You're human. We're gonna make mistakes. It's okay," And just hearing that and knowing that, you're like, oh, I should have said something a week ago and save myself all this turmoil from not saying anything. And it's just
nothing worse than walking around suffering and not sharing your difficulty. And that's why it's good to have. Well, I mean, obviously it's good you shared it with your wife, but I mean, having dudes you can call up and just say, "This is what I'm struggling with," and they're not going to judge you. They're going to be like, "Guess what? Struggling with the same thing."
Yeah.
I've always been blessed with good men that I call friends, different groups of friends. Very blessed with that. But an interesting thing too that happened that night. So when Trevor passed, and this is something I've dealt with through the years, and now that I'm retired, I'm healing from all this, and thank God I have the opportunity to retire, and I don't have to spend another 10 years in that crap. But I have horrible nightmares from time to time. And I just thought it was interesting that night, I dealt with the emotion for the first time. I was proud that I faced it and I didn't run from it. And what do you know, that night I have a dream about like this bizarre major accident, and there were dead bodies everywhere. There were mangled bodies, there were guts, there was dead babies. And I just, when I wake up, I'm like, what in the hell? I guess that's just I don't know. I guess maybe, again, all those years of repressing it. I don't know, that's your brain dealing with it. I don't know. I've read about it a lot. But it's not uncommon for me to have some pretty graphic nightmares. And it's weird because, you think the average person is probably never going to have a dream of bodies being mangled and blood and guts. But I just found that to be a little weird. When I woke up the next day, I was like, well, that was just a pleasant experience. Thank you, brain.
I don't believe in coincidences, and I think I've shared this, or I told you this on our group text, that you had a release when you cried and you got all that out. You said 20 years of just junk just coming out. You know what I mean? I firmly believe that was the devil's attempt to put some of that back in your mind.
Right.
The Bible says we war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers of rulers in high places. And that wasn't your mind. That was just an enemy attack to try to get you back to a place after you already had that release. I firmly believe that, because I don't believe in coincidences. And you told us you got it out, and you didn't keep it in, and it's not going to affect you.
Well, it's like you said. Like, I kind of think too. Maybe that's the. They're trying. Maybe I don't know, like you say, the principles of darkness or whatever are trying to, like, do that dream, trying to make you have a terrible experience where you won't. Okay, so I dealt with it, and then that night I had this horrible dream, so that was a bad thing, and maybe that's what's going on. And to have a negative experience from it. But that is definitely not, I will ignore that. I don't know, maybe it's just your soul trying to get out all the junk. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just a stupid dream, so it's not that big of a deal.
Detoxifying.
There you go. Detoxifying, getting all the doo-doo out.
It's Philippians. This is my favorite set of scriptures in the whole Bible. It goes right along with what we're saying. It's Philippians 4:6-8. It says, "Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which extends anything we can understand. His peace will guard your heart and mind as you live in Christ Jesus." And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true, honorable, right, pure, lovely, and admirable. Think on these things that are excellent and worthy of praise. If we fill our mind as men, fill your mind, anybody, fill your mind with those things in that last scripture that are good, honorable, praiseworthy, just, anything, that will drive out anxiety and all that stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree, and it's funny because this week I was in that I'm away from my mountain in Arkansas, and I'm in Texas, which I don't really care for Texas. I won't get started on that. I'm ready to be back in Arkansas. It's rather flat here, and the scenery is extremely boring. But I don't want to offend Texas folks. But I finally did the delete. Not permanently delete, just got Facebook and Twitter off my phone, and it's been interesting because I pick up my phone so many times, and without Facebook and Twitter, there's really nothing to do on my phone because I don't really play games. I've got one little baseball game I'll play. I don't really play games, so it's like my phone's returned back to just being a useful piece of equipment
Flintstone phone.
Yeah, instead of just constantly and then everything you look at on those two things in Instagram, it's all garbage, and it's perfect timing because it's Gay Pride Week, which is really like, let me force open your mouth and make you drink a giant water tower full of Kool-Aid because you're gonna like it whether you like it or not. I'm not having to see that this week. And that has been refreshing because I cannot stand being force-fed something. And I also, it kind of caught me, isn't it interesting that pride is their big word, right? For this thing that they try to force us to love. What's the one thing in the Bible? The Bible talks about pride all the time. Pride is a bad thing. It is a terrible thing. Isn't it ironic that that's their main word? Pride.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, it's very ironic. It's,
yes, absolutely.
It's like we're being waterboarded with all this stuff, like, face down, towel over our face, and just
you will drink this.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do any of you? Okay, we all know how we all three feel. Everybody listens to us, know how we feel, know where we stand, how we feel on things, and where we put our beliefs and all that. But if I'm out and about and there's someone who has chosen to be gay in their lives, do I give a crap? No, I don't. I don't. I mean, I'm not out, chasing and throwing up signs of hate and commit. I don't care. But where I don't understand and where it makes me upset and where I do have a problem, as you just said, it is literally shoved into our faces and forced at us at every turn, everywhere you look, read, listen, it's everywhere. And then where I really get upset, and I do have a problem, is when it comes to kids. That's the goal, is the kids,
indoctrination of the kids,
of children, and some of the things that they're doing to these kids at some of these events, and they're showing these kids, and the books that are in schools, and things. I just don't understand. It doesn't mean I hate people. I don't hate anybody. I love everybody.
I worked with gay cops. I worked with gay people in the military.
Same here. I worked with gay folks.
I don't care. We work together. We do a good job together. it just is irrelevant
Mm-hmm.
to the daily conversation. I have a
Yes.
problem with them being put up on a pedestal like they've done something noble.
Mm-hmm.
Like we should like they're amazing, and that's the part that I have a problem with. I mean, what you do in the
Well,
bedroom is irrelevant to my daily life.
exactly. And like if I like right now, I work with gay folks all over the place, and I love them. I respect them. I work hand in hand with them. I have no problem with it. Um, Everybody deserves to be treated with respect and love, and I have no problem with any of that. Um, it's just literally why is it forced for an entire month? I mean, none of our like Memorial Day. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. I'm just going. That's the first one that came to mind. Memorial Day gets 1 day. Okay, for the numbers that you spouted off the other day about the number of people who have given their entire life up for us, they get 1 day. Okay, Christmas. You know, it's a season, I guess you could say, but it's only 1 day. Um, why is it an entire month? And then beyond that, it's like every other week. There's some sort of proclamation about some sort of day of visibility or day of whatever, recognition or whatever. It's like every other week, it seems like. They had it on Easter Sunday. I mean, what is going on?
Let's talk about that. That proclamation that Biden made on Easter Sunday. I've listened to a couple of Tucker Carlson's podcasts and various other podcasts, and a lot of people believe that is forces of evil literally working in front of our face. And when you go and do that,
yeah, Sean
Ryan show as well. When you go do that on Easter Sunday, you're in your face. You're going direct head to head, and I believe that is anybody who's been. All you got to do is look around. Evil is real. A lot of libs and the left wingers think that you can rehabilitate everybody. They think that, like remember when they bombed us on 9/11, all the liberals were saying, we got to try to understand why they did this, and it's like, again, anybody who's been in, public, the military or law enforcement or anybody can just open their eyes. Evil exists and it walks around, and it is in the form of human beings. And there is only one way to deal with evil, and you've got to deal with it directly, and you've got to confront it. And a lot of people talk about avoidance, like we were talking earlier. I think a lot of people want to put their head in the sand that evil doesn't exist. No, there's evil out there, and it wants to kill you and your family, and it will do it, and it won't think twice about it. And plus, look around the world, how the world, look at, here we are talking about crying over a dog. You go to China, they eat them. You go to the Middle East, they view dogs as like rats. You go in other countries, they don't value human life. Like, they just send Russian soldiers to the front with very little equipment and just use them and send them into the meat grinder. Most of the world does not value human life. It is just viewed as just kill whoever. Evil is rampant all over this world. And now, even in the United States, I mean, you're starting to see that even degrade. But what are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Well, you just said it again. You said these words, but no, you didn't say these words. But we war not against flesh and blood, but against evil of this world. We love the person, we hate the sin. That's what we're called to do. I can love a gay person, whatever. I don't agree with their lifestyle. I think it's wrong, and I welcome you in my church, and you can come in my church. But when you get there, it's God will clean you up. God will get you right. That's the way I feel on that. And go back to what you said, Mike, about what we meditate on, and you were talking about Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff, and what we meditate on truly matters. It matters because the battle's up here in our mind. That scripture says we war against principalities and powers in high places. The high places is your mind. So our whole battle's in the mind, and it's so like Romans 12:2 says we need to renew our minds every day, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. 2 Corinthians 10:5 that's talking about casting down every high thing and every argument that exalts itself above God. You know, it just all goes back to you put garbage in, garbage is going to come out. You know,
That's a
if
fact.
you're watching chaotic stuff, what you listen to, all this stuff, that's going to come out. Anxiety is going to come out. You're going to, like Eric was talking earlier, it's going to eat you from the inside out. You're going to make bad choices. Your health's going to decline. You're not going to sleep. But on the flip side, you do all this. That's one of the most practical things in the Bible. That Philippians 4:6-8. If you do this, this will happen. Think on these things, you'll have peace. As men are practical people,
and we act surprised that we sit here and get garbage in on our phones all day long.
Yeah.
Surprised that so we're essentially meditating on crap.
Yep.
It's one of the reasons I don't watch gory movies. So many movies are good. Like they're like, you got to watch Narcos or this or that. Dude, I can't do the blood and guts, man. I just can't do it because that to me is bringing that stuff into my soul. Maybe some people can do it and it doesn't bother them, but what we're looking at all day is essentially what we're meditating on.
Your eye gate and your ear gate are portals to your soul. Go ahead, Eric.
Yes.
Sorry. Let me ask. So how do you? Like anything in life, my gut reaction here is it's got to be a healthy balance of, okay, let's say, Facebook and Twitter. Like, for instance, I told Abby Grace the other day, I'm dumping Instagram the very second that she graduates college. I cannot stand Instagram. It is absolutely evil. So anyway, that one's an easy one. That would be gone. Okay. So how do you balance like the want maybe, or the, I don't know what the right word is here, but to stay informed, to stay aware of what is around you, with not putting too much into is it completely deleting it all the way to the one end, or is there a medium? Could we like set limits on our phone? Can we like hold ourselves accountable to like only being on it for a certain amount of time? Or how can we do that? How can we not be just completely gone and deleting stuff where we can't stay informed, or B, just be so obsessed with it that it's eating us up? Is there a medium? And how we get there?
I think podcasts, man, like Tucker said, podcasts are the greatest thing that's ever happened. The common man or the common woman, you can go talk, you can listen to them, and there's just so much good information out there. And when I listen to a podcast where they talk about controversial thing, I'm not getting angry about it, versus kind of the social media where you get 7 seconds of crap. There's no background. It's just
That's
this,
true.
And its only mission is to divide us and piss us off.
That's absolutely true, Mike. Good point.
And so I think just get your news from maybe a couple sources that you trust versus the Twitter that's just sending you little nuggets to piss you off all day long. I mean, it's all day long.
That's true.
All day.
You're absolutely right. That's a good point, Mike. A very good point. Podcasts have, if I'm really being honest here, if I'm thinking about it just for a second, where I actually get my information is podcast.
Yes.
If I'm thinking about it just for a minute, where I get my anxiety and anger, stress, sadness, and the evil is from Twitter. Facebook's not a big deal to me because Facebook to me, I don't know, maybe I'm out there, I'm a weirdo, but Facebook doesn't affect me at all. I actually use Facebook for business, and then just to follow the family. I mean, there's not a whole lot of that I can see anyway. Maybe I'm just following the wrong stuff or not following the right stuff. Anyway, I don't see a lot of the ugliness that I do on Twitter, on Facebook. I do on Instagram, but not Facebook for some reason. I don't know what, maybe something, the algorithm's not got me or something. But anyway, Mike, you've kind of opened up a door for me here that I think I may dump Twitter and just try to get my news from a few trusted sources, which that's hard to do too. That's another conversation.
Or try this. And I'm going to try to do the same. I've tried to unfollow all things political. Try to stick to what I love. My hobbies are military, weather, where I'm just getting stuff that makes me happy.
That's a good idea.
Avoiding the politics.
But is it possible? Is it even within the human realm a possibility to get rid of the Babylon Bee?
No, because it's amazing. It's
everything, Chris, we got to let you in here, but everything that they say comes true. Everything.
And yet it's supposed to be a parody account.
Yes. Is that not the funniest thing ever in the history? That guy's an absolute genius. I would vote for him for president. Yeah, my favorite thing in the world. But no, you're right, guys. Podcasts, you don't just get the information in a podcast. You get to think about you get to ponder on what they're talking about and see how you feel about it. And then we wind up discussing it with each other and my wife and all these things. So I agree, man. I think that's the way to go, and get rid of these little clips.
I've been without Facebook for 5 years, and it does. I thought it was going to affect me at first, but like you said, Eric, they give you anxiety on this stuff, and I was doing this comparison thing, and I felt so much peace when I got rid of it that I don't even want it back. Like, I see Twitter articles you guys send and stuff like that, but podcast, and like the Bongino report, he has news headlines every day. I check that out. There's ways to get news, real stories, podcast.
The Pour Over is a Christian one.
Yeah.
Say it again.
A good one.
The Pour Over is a daily Christian news, basically news thing, gives you what's going on in the news and
like articles and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, like news blips on what's going on every day. That's a lot more healthy.
Is it an app or is it what is it?
Rapture Ready.
Oops, did I disappear?
Yeah.
I'll get it to you offline.
Yeah, get it to me.
And the other thing is, one more thing, because I know we're getting ready to close. That book I read, one of the books I read was basically like, and I'm really starting to adopt this. If it is not within my arm's reach in my life, I don't really care about it. Now, that doesn't mean I don't care about friends and family, but we're talking about like with news and the way the world is and this gay pride. And, you watch a commercial and sometimes dudes start kissing, or it's just, here's a nasty cheeseburger from Burger King here. Or, you watch a baseball game and it's 50,000 Burger King commercials of a fat dude singing about a nasty cheeseburger nonstop. Yes.
What about the Jardiance commercial? The girl singing and the medicine commercial.
Yes.
Oh my God.
All the medicine ones. And
the little pill with a big story.
Lowering my A1C.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to see that in my head all day now.
You can see why. Oh gosh.
She's got a whole crew behind her. They're just dancing and stuff.
Yes. And you're like, well, obviously she has diabetes. I mean, oh gosh. Yes.
Hey, on the flip side though, it works because we're sitting here talking about it and we can't get it out of our head. So the marketing strategy works.
Yes. Hey, I got to tell you real quick something funny, and you guys that I saw, and I would never thought in a million years that I would say this, but I actually liked a portion of a South Park episode. They have recently gone after Big Pharma and this whole American obesity problem, and Big Pharma and the Ozempic pen problem that's going on around the world. So, the fat kid on there, Cartman, has decided he's going to lose weight. Well, you got to look it up. It's pretty funny. They try to get him Ozempic and he can't get it. All right, and they tell him that all he gets is, what do they call it? Oh my gosh, all he get when they're like the self-awareness, the glorification of being obese. What do they call that?
Yes.
That's what he gets instead of a prescription. He gets that, and so they tell him he gets the Lizzo effect. He gets to be Lizzo.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, it's funny. Anyway, I didn't mean to get off onto something, but that was pretty funny. I had to admit, it summed it up pretty nicely about what's going on, in the world, so to speak.
I saw two things. I saw, and I'll shut up. Two things. I was at a restaurant the other day, and I saw this picture of these old guys, and they were at a Texaco station. It was like from the 50s, and they were all dressed up, and they had their work boots on, and, it was one of those full-service gas stations. And it got me thinking, think about how simple life was then. There were 3 channels on the TV, if they even had a TV. And I think they probably had a lot less mental issues to deal with. And so sometimes I think, like everything, when the world gets complicated, or if you're at work and a situation is hyper complicated, you simplify and get through it. I think with life, we need to simplify. I think we need to bring out distractions and start simplifying. Get out in the woods, walk, be around nature, enjoy some quiet time, and get away from the constant dopamine stimulation going on all day and all night.
Good point.
Get rid of your Apple Watch.
To think about. Yeah, get rid of your Apple Watch. The other thing is, this is my darling Loli.
Loli bear.
On the podcast.
She was with us She was with us when Trevor went over the Rainbow Bridge, and she's been getting lots of love. And I want to show y'all too this. So laps of love cost a little bit of money, but for your dog, it's worth it. One of the things they did, it was so sweet. They said, take as much time as you need with Trevor, which wasn't long because that's just his coat. That's just his body. That's not his little doggy soul. So took him outside into the back of her car. She had a basket with purple padding, had a purple blanket, and a purple pillow. And we laid little Trevor into that little basket, put his little cover on his little pillow. It was the sweetest, touching thing ever. And then they cremated him for us. And here's a little box he comes in. It's got his name on the bottom. His little ashes, his little tiny 6-pound body are in here.
Wow.
And we're going to bury this in the yard and put a little headstone on it. So I just wanted, if anybody finds himself in that situation, and yes, it costs a little money, but Laps of Love it was just such a beautiful process. Beats going to the vet, and the dog's already stressed the hell out because you're walking in the vet and he smells all those smells and it freaks him out. So, blessed to be able to do it, but just Laps of Love if y'all ever run into that situation. That's all I got. And Lily Bear said,
that's great, Mike.
Y'all have a great week.
Let's go.
It's amazing how, first of all, dogs are just the most amazing little creations God ever made.
They are.
And it's crazy that a little bitty weenie dog named Trevor brought this all on today, brought this out of you, Mike. It's just mind-blowing. And one other thing, Eric, I want to tell you about a place you can get good articles and good news is called raptureready.com.
Okay.
They have a daily articles out every day about what's going on in the world. They have a section dedicated to just what's going on in Israel. It's pretty good. And,
Okay. All right.
Close it down
I like
here.
that. That's good choices. Yeah.
Good stuff. Allowing emotions to control us is not godly. Also, denying or just completely putting our emotions to the side is not godly either. We should thank God for our ability to feel emotion and steward our emotions as a gift from God. The way to manage our emotions is to grow in our walk with God. We transform through the renewal of our minds and the power of the Holy Spirit, the one who produces in us self-control. We need a daily input of spiritual scriptures, a desire to grow in the knowledge of God and spend time meditating on his attributes and his word. We should seek to know more of God and share more of our hearts with God through prayer. Brotherly fellowship is super important and it's part of our spiritual growth. We talk about it all the time. Having good friends, good support system that you can talk to. And as we journey with our brothers and people around us, our family, help one another grow in our faith, and as we mature emotionally. And as always, fellas, keep fighting the good fight, and I'll see y'all next week.
Thank you for listening to the Life After Sunday podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Please give us a like and a comment, and go follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. And as always, keep fighting the good fight.